One of the biggest misconceptions about Kratos is that he was always a one-note angry boy throughout the games. Both as a dismissal on one side, and as a preference on the other side compared to the current sad old man.
The gods of Olympus have abandoned me. Now there is no hope.
This is the very first line Kratos says right after starting the very first game. See, Kratos from the Greek Saga has been flanderized in the discourse. His character traits push a frame for the most commonly known one, this one being. One of the elements that has always been present in the character of Kratos is the very deep anguish and sadness in him since the moment he's tricked by Ares to kill his own family. An element that, even if it gets less present throughout some of the titles, it's still at the very least hinted at here and there. And it is as key to the character as the rage he's known for.
Sorry, my love.
But was it all anger and sadness? Well, in terms of his emotional range, kind of, actually. Reason being that every single game in the Greek Saga happens after the event tormenting Kratos' mind, and the reasons to be sad or angry just pile on from there. When it comes to the Greek Saga, the most interesting and complex Kratos we get is in the first and in the last game, not only for being the most level-headed version of him, but also for the contrast with himself in the flashbacks, in the first game in particular.
By the gods, what have I become?
Past Kratos is shown to be a power-hungry, bloodthirsty, warmonger Spartan leader, much to his wife's disapproval.
How much is enough, Kratos? When will it end?
When the glory of Sparta is known throughout the world.
Present Kratos is shown to be a tormented man, desperate for the erasure of the nightmares of his past deeds from his memory, having made a deal with the gods with this only goal in exchange for his servitude. And 10 years of servitude later, the gods are yet to comply with their part of the deal.
10 years, Athena! I have faithfully served the gods for 10 years. When will you relieve me of these nightmares?
In God of War 2, he was a more consistent one-note character, not letting much else shown or explored due to shortcomings with the writing or the simplification of the character already taking place.
I am so sorry, my love. Can you ever forgive me?
All is not lost, Kratos. You must go on. There is much at stake here.
I cannot defeat the god.
Or due to the game's story and the character's mindset being more straightforward than in the previous entry, starting with Kratos showing bitterness caused by the gods not fulfilling their part of the deal, and making him a god, to replace Ares instead.
I need no protection.
Do not forget that it was I who made you a god, Ghost of Sparta. Do not turn your back on me.
I owe you nothing.
And then focusing on his rage after being killed by Zeus.
A choice from the gods is as useless as the gods themselves.
3 continues immediately after the end of 2, so Kratos' mood is still pretty much unchanged and just continues in that direction. Although the character of Pandora opens the door for more emotions than just, with Kratos having his paternal instincts kicking in, for a creature that is not exactly a child and might not even be human, but still causes him to have a bit of an internal conflict.
Don't confuse this object, this construction of Hephaestus with your own flesh and blood.
It's not much. His rage wins the conflict.
Don't fail her like you failed your family.
He gets his revenge, but becomes more self-aware of where his revenge path has led him to.
Look around you, Athena. The world stands in ruin. What good is your message? Pandora was sacrificed in vain. She died because of my need for vengeance.
Being this the starting point to the state we see him in God of War 4. Not before stabbing himself with the blade of Olympus for good measure, and that's all the numeric entries. What about the others? In the case of Chains of Olympus, Kratos is also depicted as fairly aggressive, and his service to the gods shows a level of reluctancy that is not too hard to explain. The game is set 5 years into the deal with the gods, 5 years in which whatever amount of tasks have been given to him, he has succeeded, and each success is also a time in which the gods do not complete their part of the deal, and therefore an increasing frustration on Kratos' part.
Is this all you would have me do? Is there nothing else?
Bear in mind that the old doesn't seem to be time-based, so it pretty much consists in serving the gods with the hopes that one day they will do their part. Kratos also acts bitter towards Athena. She's the only one he seems to have consistent contact with among the Olympians, so every bit of frustration he has towards the gods gets better exposed through their interactions. That being said, there are weird things in how the character is portrayed. There's unfitting character moments.
But his hatred and anger for the gods grew ever stronger. He knew there was but one thing to do. Kratos had saved mankind, but that mattered little to him. By forsaking his daughter, he had abandoned the only person he ever cared for. And the only person he ever cared for.
Some really weird and edgy feeling moments.
The world of man will suffer because of your choice.
I care little for the world and its suffering. Where is she?
And also issues related to a contrast between what is being said and his body language while saying it, versus the tone of voice he has when saying it.
What does Atlas want with the sun god?
This change in voice delivery to accentuate Kratos' anger, sometimes in unsuited situations, is a propensity that starts here. In fact, I will argue it's also present in God of War 3, where Tisicarson's shouting sounds different and more unnatural than previous iterations.
Zeus, your son has returned! I bring the destruction of Olympus! Zeus, your son has returned. I bring the destruction of Olympus! I have lived in the shadow of the gods for long enough. The time of the gods has come to an end. A true warrior does not hide, Poseidon. Leave the sea and face me.
These are far from Chains of Olympus' only crimes, though, and most of them, the worst ones, are concentrated in the last fragment of the game. But we'll come back to it later. Then there's Ghost of Sparta. Kratos is really one note in Ghost of Sparta. The game is set after Kratos has already killed Ares and has become the new God of War, which means he's already been bamboozled by the gods. So, he ain't exactly stoked about the current state of affairs, but his character throughout is just odd. His characterization presents some of the same issues than in Chains of Olympus, although not hitting the same lows, and a similar case happens with the voice delivery.
A grave? In the middle of a battle? Who will occupy it, old man? I no longer walk with the gods. Who has placed you in this torment?
A Spartan never lets his back hit the ground. Right, brother?
I will not lose you again.
In the entire game, there's only a few times Kratos has a chance to talk normal or express an emotion outside of the binary between angry and blank, while having many plot points for this not to be the case. Plot points that will facilitate more character moments than in Chains of Olympus, being somehow less capitalized than in Chains of Olympus, presenting the caricature of the character, narrowing his emotional range to a couple of all well-known beats.
Why? Why would you do this?
It's not like T.C. Carson was a bad actor. He could make Kratos sound like a normal person.
They've built this temple to offer prayers to Athena! This entire village stands as an affront to Lord Ares! Burn this village! Burn it to the ground! I will find Pandora's box. And I will use it to see him tremble and fall before me.
It is safe to say that Radiaton was operating with the standardized Kratos, imitating the most well-known traits of the character from his second and third entry from Santa Monica Studios.
By the gods, what have I become?
Speaking of which, what is Santa Monica up to around this time? When it comes to characterizing Kratos, Ascension is only behind the first game. Some might even argue this is the better one, and it shows more sides of Kratos than the first game, and by proxy all the others ever did. The game is set shortly after Kratos has killed his family and decided not to continue his service to Ares, breaking his deal, making it the earliest chapter in the God of War franchise. After breaking his oath with Ares, Kratos is pursued and eventually punished by the Furies. They have the power to play with his mind and create visions, which is used to create different scenarios for the character to be in and react to. Some of these moments even feel like a bridge for Santa Monica to what Kratos and the general tone of the franchise will be in the future, more introspective and more contemplative. And Kratos has plenty of opportunities to show a bigger range of emotions throughout the game, even feeling like a less mentally jaded character. Oh, he's still angry and aggressive.
Return when you have brought appropriate sacrifice.
I have come to see the Oracle, and that is what I intend to do.
But he's more than angry and aggressive. We're not finished though. The rest of Kratos' character traits boil down to being callous, merciless, selfish and grudgeful, with no regards for loss of life or collateral damage aside for a very specific set of people, as well as a proud Spartan with evident respect for warriors.
You are a Spartan. Even in death, you stand tall for battle.
Thank you, Lord Kratos.
He will not necessarily go out of his way to kill people for no reason,
With that little whore you call Pandora.
but the reasons he needs to do so don't have to be many. And actually trying to save lives and making favors for the sake of it is a very rare occurrence. Gameplay Kratos, on the other hand. Look, combat in this game is real fun even if it is against innocent bystanders running for their lives.
It's coming right for us!
Gameplay Kratos is a big reason the flanderization of the character spread, alongside his depiction in the second and the third entry, the most famous entries from the old games. It might even be the biggest reason considering how gameplay Kratos has virtually the same demeanor in all the entries, including the ones where he has a more nuanced state of mind. It doesn't help that you get compensated for comboing the population, and alongside the more famous iterations of the character being also the more simplistic ones, it does influence people's perceptions on this character's range of emotion and how he interacts with the rest of the living. Meet theIJPMexican. He made a video relatively similar to what this video is about, with many points I very much disagree with, including the main one which will be addressed later.
They made him a god, and yet they didn't give him what he wanted. This is when the shift happens. This is where the rage we all associate with Kratos comes in, and it completely makes sense narratively. Even at this point though, he doesn't hate the gods. He's kind of jaded towards them, but he doesn't seek revenge.
Alright, and noting the fact that hating and seeking revenge are two different things. Kratos does hate the gods at this point.
Kratos had turned the pain of his memories into hatred. Hatred for the gods, who had refused to free him from the nightmares of his past deeds.
He's just not doing anything about it aside for waging war with other Greek cities.
But Kratos had no need for the love of petty gods. He had found a new family in the warriors of Sparta, gaining solace from his past in the carnage of battle.
My lord, Kratos! Another city is ready to fall! Soon all shall know the glory of Sparta!
And the Olympians don't have made themselves any favors either.
Kratos is now on par with the rest of the gods. He lives amongst them. He probably dines at the same table as all of them do. And they probably invite him to the meetings where they decide the fate of people like Odysseus.
However, Kratos soon found himself alone on Olympus, shunned by his fellow gods.
In fact, the only god he seems to still have any contact with is still just Athena.
With every city you destroy, the wrath of Olympus grows. Soon I will no longer be able to protect you.
I need no protection.
Chains of Olympus. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad game. People say it's pretty cool. I've personally never played it, so I don't know. But this is full-on jerk-ass Kratos.
Jerk-ass Kratos is what he calls the flanderized Kratos. I disagree to an extent with his point, but I will let him speak a bit.
Kratos is pissed at the gods here, because he was pissed at the gods in the end of the last game. Even though in the first game he was very, very respectful towards them, but in one moment of anger.
He's not pissed at the gods the same way he is in 2. He hates the gods in 2. He's even trying to kill the biggest one.
A choice from the gods is as useless as the gods themselves.
Olympus needs you.
I grow tired of the gods' requests, Athena. I have given enough.
No, you haven't. Not yet. This game takes place 5 years before the first game does. We don't really get the vibe that Kratos was fed up with the gods the whole time he served them. Again, it was a moment of anger after 10 years of obedience.
Lord Poseidon, Aphrodite, Lord Zeus, Artemis, Lord Hades.
A random outburst of anger after 10 years of fully cooperation or servitude sounds a bit weird. It is more probable that in the span of that time he will have gotten some frustrations for not receiving his part of the deal. Instead of working for the gods for 10 years straight, doing killings, endlessly sailing from one harbor to the next and all that good stuff, until one day in the year 10 out of nowhere he just got
Athena! The king of the gods does not aid me, Eos. I am but a slave to Zeus and Olympus.
Kratos didn't think that. Like, ever. He thought that of Ares because of all the bad things he made him do.
Thus Kratos looks like the type of character that will work for the gods for 10 years, task after task, without any questioning aside for one single moment of frustration 10 years in. That would be an unrealistic display of patience for most characters already. And the implication that this level of patience will come from Kratos. No.
The gods have broken their word to me many times.
No, they haven't. They haven't broken any words yet. Also, Kratos, you're talking to a god. You should be showing respect.
Athena! 10 years, Athena. I have faithfully served the gods for 10 years. When will you relieve me of these nightmares?
I give you my word.
The gods have broken their word to me many times. Forgive me if I find it hard to believe your promises. What does Atlas want with the sun god?
Kratos doesn't talk like this until he becomes a god. He talked like a normal person before that.
This sounds like a statement about the voice delivery in this game, similar to the argument I made before. It is not.
Is this all you would have me do? Is there nothing else? Lord Poseidon. What does Atlas want with the sun god? The oracle spoke of Pandora's box. Can it be real?
Oh, you see what I mean? He acted like this in God of War 2, so they make him act like this here as well, even though it doesn't make sense.
There is a conflation going on here between Kratos expressing frustration and having an overly aggressive voice delivery merged as Kratos acting the way he does in God of War 2. To the former, as established, it is laughable that someone, let alone someone like Kratos, would make a deal with the gods, accomplish a task for 10 years straight and not receive his part of the deal in any approximation, and not express any frustration until specifically the year 10. We arguably even see how casually the gods gave tasks to Kratos early in the first God of War.
Lord Poseidon.
Kratos, before you reach Athens, there is a task you must complete. This beast, this Hydra, it has terrorized my seas for far too long.
To the latter, this is a misreading of the situation. Here's a full interaction with Athena.
Athena, what madness has befallen us?
Kratos, there is not much time. Olympus needs you.
I grow tired of the gods' request, Athena. I have given enough. Now take these nightmares from my head.
It is not for you to say when your servitude ends. You will earn your freedom in time. But for now, Olympus needs your unquestioning obedience. The god of the sun has been torn from the sky. And without Helios, there is no one to keep Morpheus from seizing permanent power. Many of the gods have fallen into a deep slumber. Soon, all will succumb to the black grip of Morpheus.
What would you have me do?
You must find Helios and return him to the sky. Only his light can release the grasp of Morpheus.
Athena! Athena!
Here's his interaction with the goddess Eos.
I am grateful you have come, Ghost of Sparta. The Titan Atlas has been freed from the pits of Tartarus and has taken my brother Helios from his rightful place in the sky.
What does Atlas want with the sun god?
Helios holds within him the power of the sun, a power so great it can destroy the world. It cannot be trusted in the hands of a Titan. Please, take the sun shield from his throne, walk through the gates of Olympus, and you will find me. Hurry, Kratos. Even now, my brother suffers at the hand of Atlas.
Kratos doesn't resist nor reply. He complies with Eos and, as established before, his body language does not express anything along the lines of anger. Later he meets Eos in person, and this is the interaction.
All glory be to Lord Zeus for granting you safe passage to me.
The king of the gods does not aid me, Eos. I am but a slave to Zeus and Olympus.
Save my brother Kratos, and he will convince Zeus to release you and rid you of the horrors of your past. I give you my word.
The gods have broken their word to me many times. Forgive me if I find it hard to believe your promises.
Be that as it may, Kratos. If you do not find him, only darkness and death awaits all of us.
Where has Atlas taken him?
Even with the odd voice delivery, Kratos still goes forward with Eos' request without pushback. When he calls this Kratos, Jerkas Kratos, this is the reason why I only somewhat disagree. This performance makes his mindset harder to read, and it narrows his tone from what there was available before. That being said, stretching this to mean Kratos from Chains of Olympus behaves like he does in God of War 2 is misguided, and using a handful of rough deliveries to prove so is flimsy, same as implying he hates the gods for the same reason. Which is weird because if he wanted to make a better case and use a stronger argument, he should just show the clip that actually makes implication.
While his hatred and anger for the gods grew ever stronger, he knew there was but one thing to do.
This is the closest the game gets to proving his claim about Kratos hating the gods in Chains of Olympus. So, does Kratos hate the gods in this game? I could argue this line refers to him hating the gods from this point forward, after 5 years of his reward being denied by the gods, meeting with his daughter again, rendering that to take priority over his need to erase his nightmares, which were caused by another god, and being forced to abandon his daughter and go back to the previous status quo, hoping that the gods will one day comply because of another god. I could argue his hate starts with Ares. I could argue that Chains of Olympus is very stupid, and everything after killing Charon deserves to be ignored and decanonized to oblivion.
By forsaking his daughter, he had abandoned the only person he ever cared for.
I am so sorry, my love.
Even if taken as canon though, it still doesn't make Kratos to be similar to the way he was in 2, where he's at an almost unreconcilable and uncooperative state against the gods, and that at the beginning of the game before starting his revenge path against Zeus.
Kratos.
Athena! What madness has befallen us? Athena! You conspire against me!
I give you my word.
The gods have broken their word to me many times. Forgive me if I find it hard to believe your promises. Do you see, gods of Olympus? Do you need more proof than this?
Only his light can release the grasp of Morpheus.
Athena! Athena!
I will not let Ares' fate be my own.
The gods are petty and pathetic, and your rule is weak.
It did not have to be this way, my son. This path is of your choosing.
A choice from the gods is as useless as the gods themselves.
Oh, Kratos killed the ferryman. Cool. I'm pretty sure he's some kind of deity, so I don't really know how he would be able to do that. I don't see Pandora's box anywhere.
He's a primordial, different from an Olympian god. Mind you, this is not really a defense. It is weird that Kratos can kill primordials just by having the right equipment or trying really hard, but this is not the most egregious case of this happening. He kills the Sisters of Fate in 2 without having god powers or some nonsense weapon that gets introduced in the game. It is used to kill an Olympian before the first game and vanishes forever. Speaking of,
he kills Persephone. How?
From the points I'm addressing from this video, this is the one I will agree with the most. Or at least half of the sentence. Killing Persephone in this game is incredibly stupid for reasons beyond power level. I can get over power level being off, and power level is pretty off in this franchise. Anyways, going back and forth between Kratos being able to kill the Sisters of Fate without much trouble, to not being able to kill Zeus without extra power-ups, even though he was perfectly able to kill Zeus just moments before just by having the Blade of Olympus. This is dumb, but not as dumb and significant as killing an Olympian god before having killed Ares, which is not only sold as a huge mission, not only it being an impossibility, which is the reason Kratos doesn't try it before, but it is also the entirety of what the first game is about, having a mortal achieving the impossible by killing a god.
Kratos had done the impossible. A mortal defeating a god.
Which gets undermined when you realize Kratos killed one already 5 years prior by wearing Zeus' kitchen glove and using it to punch said Olympian very hard. The solution is not to place this game after the first one though, it is to not fight Persephone, or take her out of the story and make the main villain be related to the Persians, creating a connection with the beginning of the game. Or you know, someone else who's not an Olympian. It would be very weird for Kratos to be so willing to help the Olympians after the events of the first game with his growing hatred towards the gods.
The gods are petty and pathetic.
And all of that, at a time where the deal with the gods has ended poorly, rendering them unreliable. Fortunately, that is not what's being suggested.
Wow. This game really should have taken place between the first and the second game. It would have retroactively created less plot holes, and would have kept Kratos' characterization more consistent. He already hates the gods so much in this game, but still has to serve them? It makes no sense. But since it's a prequel, it has to be that way, which just makes Kratos look stupid retroactively.
So, buying for a moment the premise that Kratos hates the gods in Chains of Olympus, according to the argument, the complaint is that Kratos hates the gods but still helps them, and that makes him stupid. So the game should be set after the first game, when Kratos already hates the gods, and the deal has unsatisfactorily ended, not addressing the Kratos hates the gods but helps them anyways complaint, and eliminating the leverage the gods have on Kratos, and that will make this make more sense. No.
If you were so fed up with them then, why did you serve them for another 5 years? If you didn't trust them then to keep their word, why did you serve them for another 5 years? You fool.
Now there is no hope.
So did Ready at Dawn just completely not understand Kratos? I mean, kind of, but I really can't blame them too much because even in the first game, Santa Monica didn't get Kratos. They describe him with all the elements that are more present in the second game.
The things I said to him, I said brutal, nasty, violent, antisocial, pissed off, angry, fuck.
This video is about the first game, where they talk about how that game came to be. Pretty good watch. In that specific part of the video, they talk about how Kratos was created.
The character Kratos is a very disturbed character.
It is baffling to say he's been described with the elements from a game that doesn't exist yet. Chances are this is the prescription David Jaffe gives for this new character being created, because among the type of revenge-seeking characters up to that point, there were many that were moody, broody, melancholic, or morally compromised.
If mortal dreams were prayers, prayers to us.
But not many would qualify it as angry as Kratos.
I just said, come into work and get angry and see what happens. What they came back with was their versions of anger and the things that they were mad at and the things that... It was really kind of neat because you got to look at the concept art and kind of see how everybody dealt with anger and madness and chaos.
So this was brutal, nasty, violent, angry for the time standards.
If you're gonna make a prequel, you have to make sure it fits in correctly with the timeline. Don't just add things that would retroactively make other things not make any sense. Why would Hades help Kratos after he killed his wife? He wouldn't, which is why it's dumb.
Well, time to defend Kratos killing Persephone. Persephone was trying to destroy everything. Olympus, Earth, the Underworld, Elysium, everything. You can connect Kratos killing Persephone and Hades having a nonchalant attitude about it quite easily.
Do you think it was my choice to wed a man I did not love? Live a life I did not choose? I was betrayed by the very gods that once saw me as their own, but no more.
So Chains was not the one that dropped the ball in this plot point. 3 was. Released after Chains of Olympus, it is the game where Hades addresses Persephone for the first and only time, so it is the game that has the chance for all of this to make sense. Instead, we get this line.
Now it falls to me to collect payment for the pain you have wrought. And I have not forgotten that it was you who butchered my beautiful queen. I will see you suffer as I have suffered.
Making his attitude from 1 to retroactively be impossible to make sense.
The meme of what Kratos was is so widely spread that most people believe it, and almost everyone will perpetuate the idea that he was always the way he was in the third game. Everyone, including the Kratos in Ragnarok.
In the service of a cruel god, I was tricked into destroying a village, not knowing my own wife and child were there until their blood stained my hands. I swore revenge.
Time to address one of the biggest claims of the video.
Okay, so what's the argument? Kratos in the first game was not motivated by revenge.
Kratos was seeking revenge on Ares, just not immediately after he gets tricked to kill his family. Ares is a god and killing gods is way of his capabilities at this point, or at least it should be, until one day the gods gave him the task to kill him, a way to kill him, and assistance to kill him. There's even a very famous track in the first game with an interesting title. Revenge is absolutely in Kratos' mind, when it became possible.
God of War, I haven't forgotten you. For what you did that night, this city will be your grave.
Sounds like you agree.
To be fair, anger, revenge, rage, death do fit onto Kratos.
Or you don't.
Kratos originally was not motivated by revenge.
Or you do agree.
Now there is one part of the original game that seems to indicate that Kratos did intend to kill Ares ever since he killed his family. It's the narration in this scene.
He had but one calling now, the death of Ares. He would murder the god of war.
Ares, you will die for what you did that night.
Now it sounds like what's being said is that Kratos decided then and there that he would murder Ares no matter what. But that just can't be the case. We don't get any indication of that being the case in the rest of the game. It makes more sense that the narrator is talking about Kratos' current calling.
This is probably the best time to point out one of the biggest issues with this video. There's quite a few points and statements that are contradicted by other ones down the line.
He does that because he's trying to forget. The motivation at the beginning of the second game is actually, surprise, surprise, the same. You see this shot? This is at the very end of the first game. What is he trying to do here? He's trying to relieve his pain. What's one of the first shots in the second game? It's this one. Now what is he trying to do here? He's trying to relieve his pain. So let's recap. This Kratos isn't the same as this Kratos. This Kratos isn't the same as... Even at this point though, he doesn't hate the gods. He's kind of jaded towards them. This game really should have taken place between the first and the second game. Would have retroactively created less plot holes, and would have kept Kratos' characterization more consistent. He already hates the gods so much in this game. Oh, Kratos killed the ferryman. Cool. I'm pretty sure he's some kind of deity, so I don't really know how he would be able to do that. I don't see Pandora's box anywhere. But yet again, the Furies are gods, so Kratos shouldn't even be able to beat them in a fight, let alone kill them. But then again, just because they're gods in the real Greek mythology doesn't make them gods in-game. Everyone will perpetuate the idea that he was always the way he was in the third game. Everyone, including the Kratos in Ragnarok.
In the service of a cruel god, I was tricked into destroying a village, not knowing my own wife and child were there until their blood stained my hands. I swore revenge.
He had but one calling now, the death of Ares. He would murder the god of war.
Ares, you will die for what you did that night.
Now it sounds like what's being said is that Kratos decided then and there that he would murder Ares no matter what. But that just can't be the case. We don't get any indication of that being the case in the rest of the game. It makes more sense that the narrator is talking about Kratos' current calling, like outside of the flashback.
From this point forward, the video starts focusing on Kratos from God of War Ragnarok. Since up to this point this video has been related to the previous saga, and I would like to maintain some resemblance of focus as much as possible, I will do my best giving a detailed enough reply, while swiftly moving forward.
Which, speaking of getting Kratos wrong, there's a lot of moments where Kratos is talking to Freya, where he would realistically just say, "Very well," and then just ditched her. Like, he brings up not being a slave to anyone ever again, and she basically just says, "Lol, shut the fuck up, my life is harder."
Do not tell me to kill again.
What?
I killed to protect my son, to aid my friends. But I will be no one's monster. Never again.
You don't get to make that choice, not with the debt you owe me.
I am not here for debts. I would always have helped you.
So much has been taken from me, and I'm just supposed to let it all go?
Freya.
Enough.
Which, you know, he should be fuming from that.
Kratos sees Freya as a friend, and feels like he has a pretty big debt to her. After all, as you said,
one whose primary motivation is revenge against the gods of Olympus, which is the Kratos from the original trilogy. The other is more concerned with his son's well-being.
Freya, I will not forget this.
Freya saved Atreus in the previous game, and avoided harming him while hunting down Kratos. Also, of all people, Kratos will understand what she's going through.
You saved her life.
I killed her son. There is no letting that go.
And there's bigger things going on than whatever differences they might have. So no, he will not leave her just because of that.
You were just an animal. Passing on your cruelty and rage, you will never change.
And you do not know me.
I know enough. Does he?
Atreus calls him an asshole at one point, which, you know, Atreus is getting smacked. I don't care how reformed Kratos is, how much of a good person he is now. I think Jesus would have smacked Atreus there.
You'd figure that after this, and all the other things he did during the Greek saga, he will fully avoid any type of physical punishment. He doesn't even do that in the previous game.
Calm down, boy. You are not ready for this.
I am ready.
And here I thought my family was fucked up.
You will listen to me and not speak a word. I am your father, and you, boy, are not yourself. You are too quick to temper. You are rash, insubordinate, and out of control. This will not stand. You do not want this fight.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I do.
Leave my home.
Also, slapping your son when he's already a teenager is kinda weird.
He turns his back on his enemy mid-battle.
She was our friend.
I don't think a Spartan would ever do that.
He doesn't turn his back on his enemy. Freya manages to put him in this position. And Kratos stops Atreus from attacking Freya because Atreus, in his bear form, which he cannot control, mind you, is about to attack Freya. Atreus never wanted to attack Freya.
Please don't make me do this!
Kratos never wanted Atreus to attack Freya.
I'm sorry I couldn't take the shot.
I did not wish you to.
And Freya will be in a position in which she will have to either get hurt, maybe die, or defend herself against Atreus. Freya never wanted to hurt Atreus.
What do you know of me? I know you haven't killed me yet.
In short, if Freya dies, that's bad. If Atreus kills Freya, that's worse. If Atreus dies, that's bad. If Freya kills Atreus, that's worse. Hence this reaction. And considering how the situation ends, one might say, he handled it well.
There's also this amazing line, which makes everything look stupid.
Father, is it always moral to kill something that's trying to kill you?
Yes.
Well, there you have it, lad.
Is it always moral to kill something that's trying to kill you?
Yes.
Well, there you have it, lad.
Yeah, what the hell, game?
It's almost like Kratos never gave too much thought to that question. And this game is putting that question to the test.
There was a bear charging, and I charged back. I didn't mean to.
Intent does not matter. Only consequences.
What can we do?
Nothing. Nature will take its course.
All those times I found you, why'd you refuse to fight me?
Every outcome would mean defeat.
What does that mean?
I have never wished you harm, Freya. You helped us. You saved Atreus when he was sick. I did not wish to live with killing you, any more than I wished to die.
I didn't want this.
Who are they?
Midgardians. Odin took them in. They shouldn't be here. They're not soldiers.
Sorry, this section is supposed to be short.
All these things aren't due to character growth either. God of War 4's Kratos was growth. This Kratos is just more of a pushover, really.
It's the same character. For a video about how most people only know the meme version of Kratos, there's something funny about the same person wanting Kratos to slap his son and kill the woman who saved his son's life, even though there's no reason the character will do that, or at the very least there's more comprehensible reasons why he does what he does in the game. And all that because he Kratos, so he do violence.
This is the god that murdered a pantheon because they hurt its feelings.
Even Ready at Dawn presented situations in which just killing the threat was not a straightforward solution.
What have I done?
I will translate. Even this cartoon of Kratos has more layers than what is being requested in this section of the video.
Now that being said, there are a lot of good moments. And I think my favorite moment is towards the end of the game when he tells Atreus that he was wrong about the whole closing your heart thing.
You feel their pain because that is who you are. And you must never sacrifice that. Never. Not for anyone. I was wrong, Atreus. I was wrong.
Even though the closing your heart line was originally in reference to your enemy, not just innocent bystanders. But, you know, whatever.
That is not how it works. These Midgardians are not just bystanders. They serve the enemy's side and operate weapons against Kratos' side. In both scenarios, Kratos doesn't know who they are or what circumstances got them there. He only knows they're a threat, and for the longest time, that was enough.
What did it say?
That we made a grave mistake.
It is weird that he likes that moment while also implying approval for Kratos' more simplistic answer.
Is it always moral to kill something that's trying to kill you?
Yes.
And also implying it's a problem, he doesn't apply this logic while fighting Freya when that is one of the key factors that mitigates Kratos' previously held position.
Close your heart to it. On our journey, we will be attacked by all manner of creature. Close your heart to their desperation. Close your heart to their suffering. Do not allow yourself to feel for them. Freya, they will not feel for you.
Adapting to this new position when watching Atreus, who knows the context of the Midgardians being there and considers them innocent, wrestling with the idea of closing his heart to them and taking them down by following Kratos' previous stance. A stance that has proven unsuited for Atreus, and that at this point has also become unsuited for Kratos himself, leading to this moment.
What are you doing?
Son, listen closely. You feel their pain because that is who you are. And you must never sacrifice that. Never. Not for anyone. I was wrong, Atreus. I was wrong. Open your heart. Open your heart to their suffering. That is your mother's wish. And mine as well.
It is almost like that is the point. It is almost like Kratos made no differentiation on that aspect back then. It is almost like Kratos never gave too much thought to that thought process up to this point, and it took a long journey to start questioning himself on that front. It is almost like this game is testing Kratos' stances and principles carried from the previous game. You get the idea. And there is a last point I have any disagreements with. Links in the description. The discourse in this franchise is still pretty interesting and all over the place. The changing tone seems too clashing for some fans of the old games, same as the changes to the character of Kratos as well as the elements the franchise focuses now. It gets a bit frustrating when the fans of one of the sagas overplays the strengths of their preferred saga against the other, or underplayed or misrepresents the least preferred saga or version of Kratos, to score points on the internet or something. Anyways, video long, me tired, thanks for watching, peace.